There.
Yep.
Howdy, everybody. I am actually live now.
And I am back from outer space, so we are ready to do a show. We have 237 topics. We're going to nail every single one of them, and if we have to go over by 1 minute, we will. We will take that extra minute.
I think it's more than reasonable.
Yes. So first of all, we did some back side change kind of stuff. Can you guys hear us? Oh, I got to sound good from the moderator. That is good. All right.
That is good.
We're trying something better. Brian's got like a new background going on and a new camera, which I think he actually looks really good, especially with the darkness on his right side, giving him that look of the sun is in his face on one side. But I think it looks kind of cool. But I did nothing but try and make everything work on my side. So we got so many topics.
There was very accommodating.
Yes.
And
Well, I think Brian looks good. Brian, are you ready to get started? Because
I think I am.
I am. Tens of people watching.
Do you know that Mercedes says that they're going to keep V8 engines after 2030 if there's enough demand?
Yeah. Well, you know what? If there might be demand, but to me the problem is the Mercedes V8s are awesome. They usually put two turbos on them, and they're really exciting, but they're still slower than most electric cars. So they're going to look good because I think that car looks good with that giant clamshell hood. It looks like a little Pac-Man or something going to eat you. They're cool. They make noise, but they're still going to get blown away by most of the EVs out there. So I don't know
Loud
what
noises
to say.
are great. They're a lot of fun, but performance, I like to watch the Tesla Plaid Racing channel where he drag races against these really tricked out, often trailered cars, and then he just drives home. And it's not as much fun being noisy if you're going to be in second place every single time.
Yeah, it gets to be a little bit embarrassing, If you're listening to
Jeff thinks their real problem is going to be aerodynamics if they don't close the hood.
You want to know something? Yesterday I saw a tow truck with a car on the back, and the hood was wide open, just like that, with the prop holding the hood open going down the road. I was like, somebody forgot something there, but I almost wanted to follow him so I could see the windshield shatter when the hood bent back. But yeah, you can't drive like that. I've had my hood pop open. It's scarier than shit, but it is what it is. They should close that. Good idea. So
apparently I do have a little bit of echo on my end, and I apologize for that. I guess your end is working better, so I'm not sure. This is something we will hopefully get completely dialed in next week. We shall see.
Yeah, I hear no echo from your side.
Yeah. So the...
You trying to get a segue?
Well, no, I was just looking at the comments saying... Anyway.
So if your hood does open up like that, you're going to lose your windshield and your car's going to be undrivable. So what would you do? You would call an Uber.
Masterfully done. Masterfully done.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're expanding their EV rides and committing to an EV-only fleet by 2030, so no Mercedes V8s for them.
Yeah, so I'm actually a little shocked about this because I've taken a lot of Ubers recently, and none of them were EVs, and they were just regular Hyundais and Toyotas, and no problems with the cars. But how does that put all the Uber drivers who just have a 5-year-old car that they just it's paid off, it's worth $10,000, what are these people going to do? They're going to put them out of work or make them rent the car from Hertz?
Well, yes, maybe. But 2030, you've got 8 years. I don't know how many 8-year-old cars are in the fleet anyway. So I think that's not an unreasonable ask on Uber's part. I don't know why they're doing it. I think all they care about is money, but...
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how that plays out. Though I'm still a little confused. Is it their entire fleet? Because it says Uber's Comfort electric option expanding to 25 cities. So you can request an electric vehicle. I guess that's for now. So that'll be pretty interesting. My wife was, I don't know if she's serious or not, but she was joking around saying that she's going to take our Model S and do some Uber rides and see if she could pick up some money. 'Cause she saw how much money we spent on Uber last week when I was on vacation, and there was one less, so we had to take Uber into the airport. It's like $65, and we had several of those. So she's like, maybe I should do that, and she would make more with a Model S because cars like that they charge more for. So,
Well, and apparently the tips are better too.
oh yeah, because you get picked up in a Model S, it's
I would absolutely
$1,000
give
car. Yeah.
a nice juicy tip. Well, did you know that Ford is setting new requirements for dealers to sell EVs, including mandatory fast chargers and non-negotiable pricing?
That is, I looked at this and I'm cool with the mandatory fast chargers. Like the last dealership I was at where I bought a bunch of cars a month ago, they had one charger there. It was a slow charger. Every time I was there, they were rotating in different electric cars that they had, trying to keep them charged. Because, they're looking at 7 hours of charging time. They should get a fast charger. But what my concern on this is the non-negotiable pricing. Does that still give the dealer the ability to tack on a bunch of horse hockey?
I'm sure it does. I'm
yeah.
sure what it would do is remove the second sticker and replace it with the desert protection package.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If they add on their $4,000 worth of stuff and say, well, now it's non-negotiable, that's a big problem. So I want to see non-negotiable pricing based on Ford's MSRP, not
Right.
and I don't know if that's what it's going to be. And I would be really frightened because there are dealers around the country that there's some that will add nothing. And I've talked to some, they've got $5,000 worth of ads. And if they add that on and say, well, now it's non-negotiable, who's screwed on that?
Right. Right.
Raise your hand. Raise your hand.
Right. Everybody.
Yeah.
And I love that this article says, quick recap, Ford sits number 2 in U.S. sales behind Tesla. That's true, but...
Yeah, trying to think. Are they?
Well, it doesn't matter. Anyone in second place is so far into second.
Yeah.
Such a distant second. Who
Yeah,
knows?
it is. And speaking of Ford, I do have my Mach-E is being built the week of October 3rd. So
Nice.
I will be helping them with their sales, which Ford's BEV sales have quadrupled in August of 2022.
Yeah. And why is that, do you think?
Well, one, because I bought a car.
That is, I'm sure, the entire reason why.
Yes. I think they're having a lot of the supply chain issues going away, and they have plus they have 3 different vehicles to offer at this point. The Lightning, I'm sure, is all they're doing is ramping up. They've got to be getting better and better as far as production goes because they know how to produce cars, and I'm sure that they know how to produce an electric one by now with having the Mach-E for almost 2 years. So as long as they can get their supply issues handled the way like Tesla's handling it, because they're blowing out cars like they're just taking a breath of air. It's
My
easy.
concern is about the margin. We know that their COO said that, Ford COO said that inflation had eroded the entirety of their margin on the Mach-E. And that tells me that the Lightning, as priced for 22 anyway, is definitely underwater. The E-Transit, I hope they're actually getting a margin on that. They might as well. It's a commercial vehicle. It either works or it doesn't. And for someone, it's going to work. We shall see.
Yes.
But I would say that that's their biggest obstacle is margin.
Oh yeah, and maybe they're just counting on it, just things leveling out, and they're just going to keep making them just so that they can get them out there. Honestly, the Mach-E is one of the cars I don't see that often on the road. But I think that's just bad luck. I see Teslas everywhere. It's kind of like a bacteria, and they're just spreading all over the place really quick. But not a bad bacteria.
No.
But who else is having a lot?
Well, Hyundai Motor increased plug-in car sales in August by 25% year over year.
And that's pretty good. And that's another one that I helped because that's one of my cars are in there also. Yay.
Now, included in that number is the plug-in hybrids.
Yeah, and that's kind of fake then. The plug-in hybrids accounted for 3,900, and that was actually down 3% from the total. And, I'm still the type of person who wants to see those plug-in hybrids go away.
Yeah. Yeah. And while they do get better gas mileage, they still get gas mileage.
Yeah. And personally, if I had one, I'd probably never plug it in, and I'd just use it as a hybrid.
Right? And I hope others would as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the number of hybrids is going down. That is a good thing. And all of this is good news, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
And for that matter, did you know that Kia is going to produce electric vehicles in the U.S. in 2024 to get the EV tax credit?
I think that's pretty awesome of them to be able to take their a whole production line and just basically move it to the United States. This is obviously because of the EV tax credit, and it's going to employ people here in the United States. Sorry for you guys outside. But that was probably one of the goals with the EV tax credit, the way they set it up was, and if it ends up working in the long run, it's definitely going to be worth it, moving all the minerals and everything over to the United States. It's going to employ people. It's going to keep money in the United States, help with our economy. And if you're pumping $7,500 into a vehicle, you need to get something back. And getting jobs for Americans who are going to be paying the taxes that will eventually go into those tax credits is the way to go. And I still need to get myself an EV6. I do like that car. What do you think of the look?
I like the look of all the Kias, honestly. I really do. I would never go with the matte finish because of the difficulties of repair and paint matching.
There's also car washes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. By the way, I did want to give a thanks to LG for the super chat. Said, made another live stream. Well, it's actually happening. Welcome.
Yeah. And Mark says Ford has 45,000 uncompleted cars waiting for parts, which I have heard the same thing.
Yeah.
But what's interesting though is, they've scheduled my car for October. What is it? Maybe it could be advanced parts, like things on a higher model. I don't know. But
well, it could also be. I know I don't remember if it was Ford, but on their trucks, they were missing the chip that would allow it to stall itself at a red light to save gas. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people were like, wow, we can get it without that? I would pay extra to not have that feature.
Well, you could turn that feature off. on most
These are not. These are salt of the earth, Bear. Humble farmers. The clay of the New West. Morons.
Yeah, I've got that on several of my vehicles, and sometimes it's annoying, and then I just go, well, I'm saving gas, because you don't get the difference is like you're sitting in the car's off, and you hit the accelerator when your light turns green, and you have a pause, and when you're driving an electric car, you're everything's off again. You're just sitting there just like you would, and you hit the accelerator and you go. I think on the Bronco Sport, when it gets to red light, the engine cuts off, and so does the AC. So that's a bit of a problem, because when it's 110 degrees out, you've got your AC on max, blowing in your face constant, and you don't want your AC cutting off to save a couple ounces of gas. So,
So would you say that EVs are catching on worldwide then?
would I say it? I would say it. I'm going to say EVs are catching on worldwide. EVs hit 10% of global new car sales. BYD and Tesla lead. That is this just for August or a quarter?
I thought this was year to date, but I am not sure.
If it
BYD
is,
proudly takes the lead because they include their vast quantity of plug-in hybrids.
cheaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's if you're including the plug-in hybrids, I don't know. Last I heard, EVs were taking 3% of the market. Are those plug-ins the other 7%, or is EVs, pure EVs, actually making up a decent chunk of that?
Yeah, this is looking at lower in the article. It's looking at January through July, where it shows BYD at 800,000 and Tesla at 617,000. But yeah, that includes plugins.
Yeah, well, plug-in they're all plug-ins.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they say. They just say, oh,
Yeah.
plugins.
Yeah, but if it's a plug-in hybrid, which is obviously the difference. I know BYD's out of that 800,000. A lot of those are plug-in hybrids, which, nope, doesn't count.
If your car burns gas, it's not an EV.
Yeah.
But, the only problem really is charging.
Yeah. I heard the charging situation sucks.
Well,
Right.
I've heard that the EV charging situation in the U.S. is about to suck a little less.
Yeah.
900 million in the first tranche of funding for chargers.
So they'll probably get about 6 of them put in, and they're going to be level 1 chargers.
Yeah.
I always have concern about this because this is the government handing out money, and I always get a little leery because you don't know how many are going to get put in, how many has to go to their cousin Joe for a kickback for something. How much of this money is going to be wasted on real estate to purchase areas where they can put them in? And
It was fun. At Fully Charged, the marquee, the big sponsor was Electrify America. And they spent a ton of money, and they had the biggest booth, and they were really aggressively seeking interviews and whatnot. And guys, could you put some of this money into making your chargers work?
Yeah.
It felt more like they were trying to raise their profile to sell the company than it did that they were trying to... Because they don't need to advertise. If you have an electric car and it's not a Tesla, you're going to Electrify America.
That's a fact. And two of my cars, the Pulsar and the Hyundai, both have free charging only through Electrify America. So I've
Right.
been there numerous times, and it's like 50-50 whether it's going to work. It's never worked to capacity. The 350 kilowatt charger, the one that I know of, I've sat on it, and it does. It's certainly not better than any of the Tesla chargers. The Tesla chargers, plug it in, go back to your car, watch a movie, unplug it, you're done. With Electrify America, you're making phone calls, you're calling for assistance. They got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Well, I'm just worried that they'll break the grid.
Yeah, that again. But here's a story from Scientific American, why electric vehicles won't break the grid. And it goes over what recently happened where California, they kind of stepped on their own you-know-what, because it just gave people talking points where they said, we're gonna stop the sale of ICE vehicles, and then 2 days later they say, don't charge your EVs, and they did not make it very clear. Initially, don't charge your EVs during peak times. Most people don't do that anyway.
Right.
I always charge off-peak times, and it saves me money. It's common sense. Sometimes you have to charge during peak times, but if you have to charge, you're going to charge no matter what time it is. Otherwise, people are going to, charge at night. So they opened up a little hole for people to give them crap, and a lot of people did give them crap. So this article goes over why it's not going to break the grid with the amount of EVs and the way the electrical grid, the energy grid, is being improved upon as time goes on. By 2030, the energy grid is going to be a lot different than what it is now, and a lot more powerful. So I'm not worried about it personally, because I know when I charge, there's never these times that they've told people in California, lower your air or raise it, I guess. So I never looked at this complaint as a legitimate one. I think this is one of those myths.
But it fits on a bumper sticker. It's an easy talking point.
Yeah. Easily debunked.
Easily debunked.
Yes.
Easily debunked.
And that's what this article goes over a lot of. So, and here's a part in the article way down. It says, time of use pricing encourages EV owners to charge their vehicles during off-peak hours, rewarding them with lower rates for doing so. And that's just what I said, and that's what I've always done. Nobody's encouraged me to do it, except for my wallet.
Right. And the grid was not in danger of failure when they asked EV drivers not to charge between 4 and 9 p.m. or whatever it was. It's just that it would have been prohibitively expensive. So let's just, if you can wait a couple hours, wait a couple hours. And most people did.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. So now it's time to talk about charging big things.
Big things.
Big things.
Anybody selling trucks?
Yeah. Nikola. I got to start saying Nikola because that's actually how it's pronounced. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
If they want me to say it that way, they can ask me themselves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't think they're talking to you. They sent me a note, though. Could you have Brian say Nikola?
No, they did not.
I could text Mark Russell and ask him if he would want me to do that. You could ask. Yeah. Anyway, Nikola takes on diesel with battery EV heavy-duty truck in Europe. Now, if you look at this truck, can you see something that's different?
What?
Do you see? You don't see it?
Well, which picture? The second one?
The first one.
I'm looking for something that's different. The third axle.
Yeah, it's missing an axle.
Well, they should fix that. I mean, that seems like something quality control should have addressed. My goodness. What are they doing?
Well, they hired somebody from Lucid, and that's what happened. Yeah, so anyway, this is the European design truck. So it needed to be shorter, and that's what they did. They've got one without it. They've also got, and I don't know if it's in this article, there's a bike. They have another one that they have created, which does have the axle, but it also has steering on the last axle.
Oh. Boy, that'll be nice for maneuverability.
That's the idea. Though I'm not sure how that works with, you've got a double axle, and one of them steers and the other one doesn't. I wonder. It seems like
I don't know.
It seems like it would do something with tire wear. I don't know.
Europe is an expanding market, obviously, for EVs. They're moving a lot quicker than North America.
Yes, and they are now. Nikola is now taking orders for this truck, and I imagine they'll be built in Ulm, Germany. I said Ulm, U-L-M.
At the Iveco plant, I imagine.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's exciting.
That is. What else have we got for trucks?
Well, somebody spotted this one. Do you know what this little guy is here?
Well, it says pure electric on it.
Yeah, they use these at ports. Orangev apparently was the first to make electric Class 8 trucks, but not for the road. These are only for non-road use, so you'll find them at ports and shipyards and within large, areas where a company may need to shuttle goods around. First to commercially deploy 100% electric, first approved for heavy-duty electric in California, first class, great. And so they've sold hundreds of these, apparently, to a variety of customers.
Do they have AC?
I don't know.
That's all I care about.
I assume so. I don't know if you can get away without AC anymore.
I agree with you. It's hard to find a car without it, but I'm in Arizona. Nobody would buy a car without it.
Right. They've delivered over 450 already across 29 states with Canada and the Caribbean. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I think they're kind of funny looking, but they're cool because they're just made for one thing, and they can probably do it very well.
Yeah. And then somebody posted this picture, also on social media, of a, what would you call this? A cab chassis?
It's a cab chassis or a chassis cab.
So this is from China. Thousands of these are being imported for configuration once here. Apparently the front, the cab itself is an old, I don't know, Chrysler or some established. They just got the stamps to make it. And EV Star CC Cargo Transportation,
so
Class 4.
Go back to this picture real quick. This is actually in the United States, though, right?
Yeah.
Because I see the
shop, Walmart.
It says home and pharmacy.
Yeah, that's a Walmart.
It looks like a Walmart. What kind of chargers are these? Are these Electrify America?
Sure looks like it. Not sure.
Yeah, they do. I'm zooming in really close. The bottom part looks like Electrify America, but I don't know what the logo looks like for Electrify America because I'm always looking at my phone trying to get the thing charged and not their logos. But anyway, yeah. On to the next one. EV Star CC.
Yeah, it's these guys, and they've got a bunch of different configurations available. You can see at the bottom there. Yeah, anything that you can build from a cab chassis, you can get. And apparently thousands of these have been imported and are being sold and configured.
Where are they? I haven't seen any.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Someone did. They posted a picture, which you just looked at.
Busted.
Anybody else making big rigs?
Yeah, they are. Bluebird.
Yeah, sort of. So I was at Fully Charged, and Jeff, I think, is here. He was with me when this happened. I ended up in a conversation with one of the electrical engineers and guys on the line at Cummins Diesel, who apparently is now a very large electric chassis provider. He told me that they had sold 500 drivetrains to a semi company in Europe, and that they were the ones who were electrifying the Bluebird fleet. And then I asked if he could do an interview, and he was like, "Who are you again?" "Oh, no." And I said, "Well, could somebody at?" He said, "No, we're not going to talk to you." But he gave me a bunch of very specific things to Google, which is where I got information like this. They've got hundreds of these on the road already. And yeah, what a great use case for electrification.
I'd like to buy one.
You what?
I'd like to buy one. Well, do you know what the price of one of these are?
No, and I looked briefly, but had a very hard time finding an answer. So if anyone wants to dig that up while we're talking, please do. But my guess would be 150 to 180, because unlike a proper semi, the range is much shorter. It's like 125 miles or something like that.
You're talking about the school buses?
Yeah, 120 mile of range in a single charge.
Oh, I was talking about the price.
Right. Well, I was saying the price could be as low as 150 to 180 because it only has 120 miles of range.
$150,000?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This stuff's expensive, man. Just a bus alone is quite expensive. Yeah, well, we'll find out. We'll see if someone in the comments finds it.
So, yeah, can somebody look up what a school bus costs?
Yeah, please.
I do think $150,000 for a school bus is kind of expensive. They don't even give these kids seat belts, you know. So,
yeah, but and then there's this article from last June.
I hope it's not that much.
There's this article from last June They had already sold 500 of them as of last June.
And that's pretty good. It's probably gone up quite a bit.
The drivetrain works. We just know that.
Yeah. And Bluebird has the capacity to do 3,000 units. That's what they're hoping to do this year as far as have the production capacity. They just need the orders. So that's pretty good. It's an easy way to save a lot of gas and get those gas diesel buses, which are awful, off the road.
Yeah.
So,
and that fits with...
You choking on the gas fumes in a bus?
I remember it well.
Yeah,
and that fits well with, oh my gosh, that fits well with the information I was given by the engineer. MD Hofsty saying, I found it on an electric article, 400 grand, while a typical bus is 220. Oh.
I'm going to start manufacturing buses. You know what? You know why I think that's too much money? Because those are about like the same size as a Class A RV.
Right.
And it's basically a very similar platform. You've got a large engine up front, diesel. On these Class A's, they put the diesels in the back, but the regular gas are up front. But you can get a fully decked out. You can get a beautiful RV, completely decked out, for 300 grand, brand new.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that goes into this. This is just a basic frame slapped together with some windows and some really crappy seats. And like
the most basic seats ever.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it has 2 toilets, movable walls, tiled. So I'm not sure how they get to that price, but if they can sell them at that price, they're going to make a lot of money because they got some margins on that.
Yeah. In the push for clean transportation, we expect municipalities to incorporate more zero-emission vehicles, which include around 600,000 school buses. That's a lot of money, my friend.
600,000 times 400,000 is what?
24 billion?
24, no, it's got to be more than that.
Somebody do it for me. My brain's a little tired today.
Yeah. That's a lot of zeros. 10 zeros. How many are 10 zeros?
2.4 billion?
Anybody? Bueller? All right. I don't know where my calculator is.
So the Daimler Truck website really loves timing me out.
Yeah, I've had that happen 6 times already.
Yeah, so they've got a new Class 8 coming. That's a Class 8, right? Might be a 7. It's only got the second axle and not the third.
Yeah, there's only one axle in the rear.
Yeah. 500 kilometers of range, so about 300 miles. Pretty reasonable for a lot of the new EV trucks.
So
and Daimler is, for real.
Yeah,
when they say they're building something, they build it.
When are they building it?
We shall see how that goes.
2024.
Yeah, not too far out. Mark's saying $240 billion, if that's right.
Thank you, Mark. We don't do math here. So it's $240 billion is a pretty good market.
Wow, $250 billion worth of school buses. Come on, people.
And that's only in 2 countries.
Good Lord.
Right? Yeah, that's only here in Canada.
We got to get that price down, man. That's insanity.
What do you think will happen to all the school buses that have gasoline motors or diesel?
Demolition derby.
As fun as that would be, but they're going to go to other countries that don't have the ability to afford $400,000 buses. And
well, we're very good at exporting our emissions problems.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not going to trash these trucks. That's for sure.
No. And you can't turn all of them into RVs.
Well, actually, you probably could. That will solve the homeless problem. They now have a place. Give them a bus. Just saying.
Yeah, no,
I just solved homelessness.
No one gives you enough credit. It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm gonna just put that on my resume. Solve homelessness.
Is that enough on heavy stuff for this week?
I think it is actually. Did I miss something?
So Tesla China has cut the estimated delivery time of Models 3 and Y again. They had drastically increased their production capacity. And apparently, as of now, Model 3 rear-wheel drive with the LFP batteries, 1 to 8 weeks out, with the performance at 1 to 10 weeks out. And the Model Y rear wheel, 1 to 4 weeks, no change. Model Y long range, 1 to 10 weeks, down from 10 to 14. And the performance, 1 to 10 weeks, down from 6 to 10.
That's pretty awesome, because you can't even order a Model 3 all-wheel drive right now in the United States, because the wait time on most of these cars, minus the performance, in the United States is like a year at this point.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, that's 52 weeks. It's 52 weeks.
There's concern that it could be a sign of softening demand in China. But it's also possible that there have been some shutdowns in those areas. It's unclear if deliveries were able to be made. So it could be that those areas are not accepting the stock that they were supposed to receive. And it's possible that those shutdowns created financial uncertainty for some folks who are no longer comfortable with a purchase of this size.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh-huh.
Well, that was an uncomfortable silence.
Any other Tesla news?
Yeah, Bargersville PD. I don't even know what state that's in.
It sounds made up.
Yeah. Oh God, you made me think of that movie where they made up that. I don't know if it was an Adam Sandler movie or they made up a name like some nonsense that had like everything that you see at the end of towns like Villes and Tun, and they put them all together, and it was a made up city somewhere. So this
the
is
Bargersville PD in Indiana. It's got a canine unit. So the dogs are riding in fashion. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat. I think they're showing off. Well, they're using it for what they wanted to, but it does show the possibilities that you can do with something like a Model Y, using it for canines. What else could you do with what other uses do you have for a Model Y?
I'd like to make it into an ice cream truck.
Well, you said demolition derby. Do we have...
That seems like a crime.
Yeah. So you got the picture up?
I do.
Okay. Well, that's my Model Y. It was just sitting there all alone on the road, parked, just taking a nap, and somebody backed into it really, really hard. They broke the control arm on that wheel, and the car is undrivable. So my Model Y is getting a new fender, a new front bumper, a new wheel, maybe a new tire, a new control arm. But that one is off the road for the next 2 months. And by the way, if you get into a serious accident with a Tesla these days, the wait time for a serious accident, this is September. They told me it would be April, and I went in there and negotiated something better. But you're talking, it's seven and a half months to get your car repaired if you got a Tesla. It's not something you want to use as a buying decision, but that's the way it is right now. There's just parts ordering and all the work that needs to be done. People need to stop hitting Teslas, and when you're using your autopilot, don't read a book. You still need to pay attention.
Yeah. Do you know what the estimate is
for this repair? I don't have an exact estimate, but it was actually pretty cheap. In my eyes, it's going to be probably around $5,000.
Oh, I would have guessed 10.
Yeah. The last time this car went in the shop, it was $11,000, for when it got hit in a windstorm, and all the patio furniture landed on it, broke the roof, and
And that didn't even look bad.
well, if you saw it in person, there were all the furniture hit like the side of the car, leaving little scratches. So those are repair things; they're not replace things. Like on this picture, the fender and the front bumper are just going to be taken off and replaced. Therefore, it's fairly easy because it's bolt-on items plus the paint in that inner fender wheel well also. But when you have scratches and gouges all across a car, that's finished repair work, so that actually takes a lot more time. So that's why that repair was like $11,000. Plus the roof was another $2,000. So yeah, it gets stuff like that gets expensive. I looked at this like, all right, well, these are all bolt-on items. They're going to get this fixed pretty quick as long as they have the parts. That's the scary part.
So 2 questions for you. One is from John Yent. Was the other driver caught, and insurance stuff? And then my question is, do you have a front casting?
Good questions, and I have an interesting tidbit of regarding the casting. I'm not sure if I have the front casting or not. I've never really looked, but this is a 2021, and it was just right when they were starting the castings in Fremont. So I'm not sure, and I thought they did the rear first. So if I have a full casting, it would be in the rear, because I got this car before they started the fronts, and they had just started the rear. So I don't know. But while I was at the body shop, I asked my Tesla advisor, I said, have you ever had any experience with the castings? And she told me that they've yet to have a car come in, a Model Y with castings, that needed repaired. And which is surprising, very surprising, because there's just cars laying all over the place that have lots of damage. But they've yet to have a car, at least at that Tesla body shop, with a damaged casting.
So, and did they catch the guy?
Yes. The guy did take off, but they lived there. They were pulling out of their own driveway. So when they came back, it was like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I guess I did that. Never saw the guy's vehicle because I wasn't there. It was when I was out on my vacay. So the guy admitted to it. The insurance was moving along, and they said that they're accepting responsibility for it. So I was able to wiggle my way into October 12th to get this done, fortunately, and it'll be back on the road probably no later than mid-November, which is not good, but it could be worse. Could have been April.
Right.
And they're paying for everything. They offered me a rental car. The allowance was $30 a day.
Right. John says, Sentry mode. Well, the car was out on a Turo rental, so it was all handled without mostly Bear's involvement. And who is this? Says, if the casting is damaged, the car is automatically totaled. Yes. So I think the service center might not see them if the damage is so substantial that, yeah, it just might not come in at all.
Yeah, that's very possible, but I think if you have a slight bend in a casting, things are repairable. They can bend things back to shape. Body shops do that stuff all the time.
I don't know about with the casting, though.
Well,
I think it might affect the structural integrity if it has to be manipulated. But
yeah, because aluminum is a lot, it's more fragile. But
yeah, more
I'm
brittle.
talking like small bends and where maybe one bolt has to line up. You can't just like knock it back into shape. I don't know. She just said that they never had them.
Yeah. How's Lucid doing?
Lucid. Well, I'll tell you what. They're actually decided to start making cars. They made some internal changes, and some people left, and now suddenly they know how to make cars faster, because they went from producing barely any, like 15 a day, to between 40 and 50 cars per day after making these internal changes to some people. So this is great news if you're a Lucid fan. It's bad news if you're a Warren Redlick fan, because it shows that maybe they are not a scam, because Warren still thinks that. I'm hoping that they're not, just because I have stock in them. But yeah, this is good. They might be able to get up to 60 to 70 cars a day, and we are seeing that when we go out on our flyovers. We went out yesterday. There was 4 car haulers there, and they are just pulling cars out of there and taking them away. And we have Jan Walker, who's in the chat, who says, I will quote her, "I'm excited to tell you that my Lucid Air Grand Touring was delivered to me on Friday, September 16th, and she's been waiting since December 14th of 2021. But she is happy with it." That's not really a long wait. So congratulations to Jan. She got her GT, and as someone who's driven one, I know that she's going to enjoy it.
Yeah, and I don't know if Jan needs to know this, but off-roading, any advice?
Bad idea. I went someplace yesterday regarding Toro. I was talking to someone just about parking, and it turns out that Lucid that did the dirt road is stored at that parking place, and he told me he saw the video. Some random guy said, "Yeah, I saw the video of the car driving through the dirt," and then he also recognized me and said, "I think I saw you." I'm like, "Yeah, but I had nothing to do with that," and I didn't. I'm still ashamed of that, and I wasn't even part of it.
Yeah.
Lucid Air, talking to you.
So I am glad to hear, because that would have been my follow-up question is, does it look like 40 to 50 cars a day? And your answer is, yeah.
Yeah, it does. Because with 4 car carriers just happen to be there when we're there, that is 24 cars that they're taking out right there. And that is just a snapshot of 20 minutes where those car haulers could be leaving. And honestly, every one of our last visits, probably for the last 10, roughly our last 10 flyovers, there has been car haulers there getting loaded up.
That's great.
They don't plan the car haulers around our schedule, so they're there all the time. That's what it needs to be.
Anybody else increasing production?
No.
After strong interest, VW plans to build 130,000 ID buses a year.
I still want to know how big they are in real life.
Right.
Like, I'm looking at this, you see that crack in the concrete right in front of the orange one?
Yeah.
That could be an actual one of those half-inch cracks.
No, that's a train track. Look, there's another one in the corner.
I think it's the crack in the concrete, and those things are actually miniatures. They're like 4 inches tall.
All right. But even still, next to a train track, they're not looking very big.
No, they're not.
Could be some perspective tomfoolery. Yeah. So I'm concerned with how few cars a legacy car factory builds. You're putting up a whole line, a whole big chunk of a factory, maybe even an entire factory to make 130,000 vehicles a year. That's not adequate, guys. You know, it's just...
Well, what are you saying? How many should they have?
Well, the run rate in Shanghai is 1 million, and it's not an outrageously large factory. It's maybe twice the size of some factories.
But did you ever consider that they're going to produce what the demand is for? I mean, why make 1 million if they're not going to be able to sell it?
Right.
Or have the batteries for it. They may realize we're only going to have enough batteries for 130,000, so that's what we're going to make. So, because VW is going to be making more than just this buzz. They've got the ID4, ID5, and whatever else they have coming down the line. So they just may not have the mineral content for the batteries. So they said, well, we'll make 130,000. And maybe they'll make less. Or actually, they're starting off at 100,000.
Well, one thing I talked about on last week's show and repeatedly I've talked about it. So Ford has 60 factories and makes 6 million cars. That's 100,000 per factory. That's terrible. The new GM Factory Zero, which is a factory they've had since 1985. They just retooled it for electric. And since 1985, this factory has made over 3.5 million cars. Guys, that's less than 100,000 a year for the entire factory. You're in trouble.
You think?
I think. I
Oh.
think.
Huh,
It's
I
a
mean,
cool van, but you're right. The demand may top out at 130,000 because apparently it's like a $60,000 car.
Yeah, it should not be that.
No, that's a little steep for a microbus.
Yeah, and I hope it's not a microbus. Because
Well,
I
this
don't
is
like
the European version, which does not have a third row.
Okay, but how much room is there for the driver?
I don't know, but I assume plenty.
Uh, yeah, sure. You assume plenty. Remember, the driver could be 6'4" and full of muscle.
John said that some of those Ford factories only make engines or transmissions. Okay, that's possible. That's possible. Oh, any other
No.
news in EVs? I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's a new car made by Chinese Ziker, which will go on sale next year with a highly efficient battery. And if it wasn't for the fact that CATL was involved in this, I would probably just be like, yeah, okay, anybody can say that they're going to have a 600-mile battery. But it looks like they've made the battery pack and it's going to have a range of 621 miles. And, of course, it'll only be in China.
Yeah.
You don't look excited.
It's a big claim to say that you're going to beat Lucid by 80 miles for, I assume, vastly less money. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. I hope it's true. But we'll see.
Well, yeah, I do too, and I hope that they'll be able to take some of that technology and bring it to the United States. So, 600 miles would make a lot of people very happy.
On your channel, the VW guy had a great point. You're going to talk about VW's incoming influx of cash in the expected amount of $78 billion from the Porsche IPO. VW's going to have a lot of resource for their EV platform.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good point. That is a good point, and that is enough money to retool for sure.
And buy a big boat.
I'm going to buy a boat. Yeah, interesting. And we're just about down to it, so if you guys have any questions, get some in. Did you hear that the Chinese EV company, Xiaopeng, has launched a semi-autonomous driving system?
Yeah, it's supposed to be somewhat similar to Tesla's FSD, but not. It's not actually made for the highways. It's made for the cities, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I hope to see footage of this. I'd love to see it work.
Yes. And speaking of FSD, I haven't seen any videos on Tesla's FSD in like a place like New York City.
There are tons out. Would you like a summary?
For New York City?
Oh, New York City. Oh,
Yeah.
no, I haven't seen that. I've seen plenty of West Coast, San Francisco and LA, which are also very challenging. But New York City is, I'm sure you will agree, its own thing.
Yeah. So I lived in New York. I was born and raised there. And I don't know if you even know that. And I left. One of the reasons that I didn't like New York City was the congestion and all the cars, constant honking of horns. So on my vacation, we had to stop in New York City. And we were there for a couple of days. And it just reminded me of like why I didn't want to live there. But I can't imagine FSD in New York City. There are people everywhere. They're walking everywhere. They've changed a lot since I lived there. They've got bike lanes that people fly down these bike lanes at 30 miles per hour, and they have both ways for the bikes. And then next to it, they'll have a walking path for people walking or running. And crossing just that is dangerous because they don't stop. They holler. They yell at you if you get in the bike lane. Hey! They have some word that they said, but they would scream it. All the guys on the bicycles, and it's constant. A lot of people. And then just crossing the street. There is 5 or 6 lanes, everyone is jockeying in and out to get into a better position. As soon as the light turns green, everyone starts honking their horn before they hit the accelerator, and there's people everywhere. People triple parked. Like when we were loading our luggage in our car that picked us up, they were triple parked, and it's just so much different than anything else you'll see. I just would like to see some video of that, and I think that would be a real test for Tesla's FSD. And I think some of these Chinese cities are very similar to that with the amount of traffic, but I think they're more civil.
In terms of pure chaos, my experience in China is out of date. It's about 15, 20 years old now. 15 years old. Yeah, maybe 20. Anyway, it's chaos. It's busy. It's a lot. It's a lot. Well, we do have one last story. Hart Aerospace unveils new electric aircraft, and Air Canada has ordered 30 of them.
All right. Well, I think it looks awesome.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's got a backup generator, diesel generator, to extend the range on it, which is interesting. But if this thing flies and does what it's supposed to do, this is just a step in the evolution of electric airplanes, because you got to start somewhere. And if they can put something like this into service for short flights and little hops, I think this would be pretty darn cool.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great.
That's all you
4Q on your channel said, I saw 4 lanes of traffic on a 3-lane road in China, all going 55 plus.
Yeah.
That's my experience with China.
Yeah, and that's also the same experience you'll see in New York City. It's the same thing, and I've got stories from when I used to drive in New York that I'm not going to share with everyone right now because nobody really cares that much. But I drove a taxi in New York City for 6 months, and it was pure chaos. Got into 15 accidents during that 6 months. Yeah.
Now, is that required?
It almost is. But yeah, I got into about 15 accidents. Some of them were just, a lot of them were just like people hitting your rear bumper with theirs. They got too close. Others were, I got into one where the car was totaled. So.
So John pointed out that making efficient batteries is possible, making them inexpensively in volume much harder.
You know would be the best thing for batteries is to find a way to store the energy in something that's lighter.
They should work on that.
Yeah, they really should.
Hiking Lang also said the 600-mile range claim is also on the China standard, which is which one? The NEDC or the... I think it's the NEDC.
Oh, okay.
Which is not the same as the EPA standard, which means it's probably in the Lucid range or lower. And at that point, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, now it's believable again. Which is, I'm not complaining. At the very least, it sounds like something that would make sense.
Yeah, and that is something that has to be taken into account. Will that 600 translate into real world experience?
Yeah. But does it need to? If the cost is good enough and it's still 500 miles or 480, it's very, not super common to need more than 480.
Yeah, my carpet's moving again.
That's an occupational hazard when you live in Muppet Land.
You're not kidding.
JJE says, hydrogen, ? And if that's the question, the answer, of course, is no. All right. Anything you got? We should probably say thanks to our patrons.
Okay. Thanks, patrons. I do appreciate you. And Brian appreciates his patrons.
I do. I don't have a graphic to put up because I'm on the backup computer this week. Should be back in action with the normal machine days ago. But the gentleman is very methodical, let's say. So, hopefully tomorrow
good luck
or
with
the
that.
next day. Yeah. All right. But yeah, thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for liking and subscribing and all those things. You know what you did.
Yes, and if you haven't done it for Brian, do for him. It makes him feel
Yeah,
better
do it for
about himself.
me.
And
I need it.
And I need it too. Okay, I'll grovel. Hit the like button. We do appreciate you guys watching. I know Brian can go off topic so much, and I'm gonna have to get him under control.
Oh yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
he
Don't
does
get me started about Hyundai or dealerships.
Oh, did I not give you like the worst thing about Hyundai thing today?
We may have spent 10 straight minutes on that 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, that happened. Okay, well,
Yeah.
there was a
Yeah.
picture of a Hyundai, and I got past it without saying anything.
Well, I want to thank you, Bear, for tuning in, hanging out.
All right, well, and it was a pleasure as always, and still like this background better than the other one.
Mine?
And, yeah,
Yeah.
I li-
Yeah, I've
I
been
like it.
tweaking the settings, getting it dialed in. Looks pretty okay. This part, still not ideal.
Your face,
I blame my mom.
your mom looks like you.
Well, when she was alive?
A 4QS said no GM today. Did we not mention anything from GM?
No. No, which is weird because Mary
Yeah.
is the leader.
Yeah. Wow, that's kind of weird that there was like nothing from GM while
Wow.
they lead us
Wow.
or led us. Lettuce?
Lettuce.
Lettuce and tomato?
And tomato, yep. All right.
All right. One last thing, VW guys, school bus prices also get consolidated on state government bid contracts that school districts buy from. I'm assuming that some of the price of these buses are paid by the federal government, and they're trying to get a better deal possibly.
MD Hofsty had earlier said that California is setting aside $140,000 to $375,000 per school bus for electrification.
It's such a lot of money. 4Q said GM announced an SUV for $30K. That would be the Equinox, and they kind of announced it. I thought it was going to be more of a, hey, this is what it is. This is what it is, and place your orders like they did with the Blazer. But it was just announcing something that we kind of already knew because they had said that the Equinox was going to have an EV and is going to be cheaper than the Blazer. And I believe the Blazer at the lowest price was $30,000 also. Might be 40, but I don't remember. I got two of the Blazers on order, but I was looking to possibly get an Equinox when they announced it a couple of weeks ago, but there was no orders. It was just saying, oh, hey, we're going to do this. Sit back and wait. So, all based
John did point out that GM announced, or Hertz announced today, that they're going to be buying 180,000 of General Motors EVs over, I want to say, 5 years, which is great. I hope they're not getting fleet pricing because GM at present would
no margin.
struggle to make 180,000 EVs.
Yeah,
total.
no margin in it. I assume that they would be getting the Blazers and maybe the Equinox down the road. Those would be good rentals.
Yeah.
What I don't know what else would fit. The Bolt. I mean, I don't know if people would rent the Bolt. Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
there's a lot of education that goes on when you rent an EV, and I've had a lot of experience with people renting my EVs and not knowing what the hell they're doing, and calling me up when they have 5 miles of charge left and they don't know where to go. So Hertz is it's going to be a little rough for them training people on the Teslas if they haven't been on them, and then training them on a different type of EV, because I really wish there'd be some sort of standard.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's something that's just going to happen in the future. People will learn, or they'll die. That's probably the choice. So we are going to wrap it up now because Brian just keeps going off on tangents.
I'm
What am I
going to
gonna
turn
do
into a
with him?
pumpkin if you don't stop.
Yeah, all you need is the orange paint. All right, everyone. So we're going to call. I thought you were frozen for a second. Stop doing that.
Just wave it.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. We will see you next week. Same time, same channels. and you guys have a good one. Thanks for watching.